them how the public likes to be spoken to. Not with authority, you must speak with some empathy. And you must speak with some responsibility that your position holds. And so I hope the government will take that in good faith. The other issue I have also with the Lagos state government, and I think I'll be doing this from time to time, it's good that all of us are sensitized about these things, is the rate at which Ikoyi is being transformed into a concrete jungle is very, very worrying. I got an architect send me some videos yesterday. Julius Berger's constructing some areas in Ikoyi and some houses that were being built. The trees were being felled down. They were being brought down. Some of these trees are 100 years old.
No.
And I'm sorry I have to mention Ghana again. In Ghana, the last time I went to what would be their own equivalent of Ikoyi, I suspect that they had rules guiding the place, meaning if you bought a house on an acre of land, you had to leave it that way. You couldn't bring down any tree. If you want to build a 40-story building, there are new areas you could do that. But we are gradually turning the face of Ikoyi around. And Ikoyi is the last of the origins. Railway compound is gone. Apapa GRA is dead. Ikeja GRA is the same fate. So we are not going to have a place that for habitation, green, where people, if you have the means, can buy a nice property, have greenery, and so all of us is becoming a concrete jungle. So we're going to plead with the governor. I know he's under pressure. Our politicians, when they don't make some small shower, small money, they like to build a befitting whatever it is. If you want to build something befitting, I understand Lagos State, they're going to have some new towns. Then you can go and build some concrete there. But I think it's time we put some rules in place to say you can't touch any tree. I thought Fashola did that you can't bring any tree down. Let's maintain some sanity in the things that we do. Rhoda, you watched me mouth off this morning.
I know.
Okay, let's get down straight to the subject of the day. Rhoda, school is about to start. Is it a bit too late to be advising people on what schools to send their children to?
I think that there's never a time it's too late.
I don't think it's too late. The schools haven't started anyway.
The school hasn't started.
Yes,
and
yes.
As long as it hasn't started, a decision can be made.
What should be your consideration? Let's start from primary level. You want to send your child to school. I think the biggest culprits here are the elites, especially the ones who just run into some big money. No, I suffer too much. My child must go to a school that is befitting of my status now. That kind of a thing. But what should do? Thinking of the child, what should be your consideration?
So I have this acronym I use to share with people about what you should consider. So it's called SANE, SANE.
SANE, okay.
Yeah, so I start with security and safety, and that is very key. I think that goes without saying.
Now in a COVID area,
you've got to think about everything that surrounds their child's safety and security, and understanding how that school takes their security and safety policies seriously. Because you've heard, some time ago, it's easy for anybody to just walk into a school and pick up your child. That's bad. You need to ask questions around that. You also, of course, the other things about fire extinguishers in the schools, the safety of the mind of the children, like how does the school actually teach the children safety, how to be safety conscious on their own. So it's both ways. It's safety consciousness on the part of the children and engendering that, and at the same time safety conscious on the structure.
So maybe the first consideration would be to look at the population. I think that the smaller the school, by simple reasoning, it might not work that way, the safer it might be, given all other considerations.
Of course, as with anything, numbers. Imagine you going to the stadium and there's no crowd. You're not going to be worried about being bombed down. So yes, but then there are other small things. I won't call them smaller things. Of these things, like I say, where the building itself. What is the structure? Is it easy? Is it fire safety compliant? Is it? Where are the electrical wirings and things like that?
The balconies.
The balconies.
How is it?
What's the structure? How sturdy is the structure of the building?
So invariably, you shouldn't put your child in a school that you haven't been.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because some people do it blind. You don't go inspect the school. You just assume that. Let me ask you. I know the answer, but I'd just like you to key into that. Is the most expensive school necessarily the best school?
No.
Is the oldest school necessarily the best school?
No.
Okay.
Those are straight answers.
Yeah.
There are many reasons why those.
No, but because you see what again you find people saying, I took her to that school. Don't you know how much I pay there?
Jimmy, for lack of words to use,
yes.
You know that these things can also border on status.
Yeah.
So again, you know what you're going for. So of course, the more expensive, the more opportunities for facilities and personnel.
Ordinarily though,
yes,
sometimes
ordinarily.
it's not that way.
Well, it's expected. I mean, those are the schools that I know that are of status, that level of status, usually have all the facilities. They have everything going. They have the quality of personnel. They have all the security features and things like that. CCTVs everywhere. They have all of the paraphernalia required. But it doesn't always equate in as best education.
So I mean, that's here. Now we're talking primary school. How sensible is it for you to put your child in a primary school away from where you are? Let's even start local. Let's even start from, okay, unfortunately you built your house in Okwaba, but you want your child to go to Corona in VI. Does that make any sense?
Of course not, Jimmy.
But it happens.
It happens.
Yes.
People do it for some kind of reasons, and we know that. Some people will do it for, I like the quality of education the child's receiving there, and so they'll do anything.
And then put the child through a daily string.
But this daily string has significant impact on the children. The travel time is stressful on the child, and it doesn't allow the child to enjoy the process of learning, which is where there's a challenge. And it kind of brings a level of disconnect, because you as a parent, you're not probably likely to be the one that is doing that transition back and forth.
Yes.
And so there is that level of, I am not always with my child. My child spends a lot of time on the road before coming back home and things like that. And there are dangers as well.
Okay, still talking about primary school level. Is school busing sensible at this point in time with all this COVID and whatever? School busing.
A lot of, even just not Nigeria, a lot of countries are thinking through their school busing system as well. So it's not just, is it safe? Is this 100% that we can't even say that anything is 100% safe right now. So schools are trying to think through, increasing the number of buses and reducing the number of observing social distancing within the bus system. Of course, before you get into, we check your temperature, wash your hands, and all of it. But again, with COVID, there are many things that people don't know.
So running schools is going to be very tedious now.
Very tedious. Very tedious. Very tedious.
Okay, so invariably, maybe the first thing you need to think of is get the child at primary level to be as close to home as possible.
Absolutely.
That should be priority.
Believe me, yes. At primary level, foundational level, you should look at schools close to home as much as possible. That's what you should do.
And how important is it that you don't go leave your kids, say, okay, because Rhoda is in Abuja, I want her to go, or because Rhoda is wherever it is, I want her to go to that school. People go as far as Kenya, go to all kinds of places. For primary school, it doesn't. It's a no-no.
For primary school, for me, it is. I would advise you as a parent, is a no-no. There's a reason why you're a parent.
Why you're a parent, yeah.
And that bonding that is required for a child to become. They say, the shortest time of a person's life is their childhood. You spend
the shortest.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. When does childhood end?
16, averagely.
We still have some 60-year-olds behaving like children.
That's what we're saying. And so
in public space.
The total experience
yes.
of that 16 years characterizes the rest of the person's life.
So the 16-year-old we were talking about this morning, his childhood will soon be over.
Over. And so these are people who are already transitioning into adulthood. And they have just this short time.
Yes.
And you as a parent, your primary role is to do as much as you can so that that child is not just a confident individual, contributes positively to society. And then, you as a parent enjoy the time, this moment that you have with your child, and that you build that responsibility, that character formation. These are the things that happen in this period.
I also see that you keep stressing that before you put a child in the school, visit the school, look at the curriculum. I know you always.
So my saying is security and safety. A is academics. You've got
Okay.
and we'll talk about that. The N is what we've touched on, which is nearness.
Okay, nearness.
Yes, and then my E is environment. So on academics, one thing that I think this one even goes without saying. You've got to look at the curriculum and ask the right questions. There are questions to ask. What sort of standardized tests do you take? Because most schools map back from that standardized test. And when I say standardized test, things like in our own case, for National Common Entrance, JSS, SSC, all those kinds of exams, IGCSE, for those who do the international exams in the primary level, those are the things that determine the kind of curriculum that's run in that school. You want to be sure that the school has those goals as what their choices of the curriculum determines those goals, and then that translates into what the children are
if you can afford it, does it make sense to seek help from some kind of consultant?
Of course.
And seek help from a consultant or somebody who knows, and say to the person, look, this child wants to start school. And by the way, what is the best age to start up a child in these current times? Yes.
So there are a best age, straight answer, for a child to start school, it would be 3 years.
3.
That would be a best age. Nothing younger. However, there are many challenges. Separate the family space.
So the family space.
So parents have to go to work, things like that, and just that have to go to work is a clear determinant of how a child gets into school. So for us here, imagine a young family, very young, both of them work. The child has to be somewhere. And so that's where the early care centers come in to play. And then the quality of the early care center is mixed. So when an early care center is a home away from home, then you feel confident that you can drop your child there. And then, of course, all these things around safety, security, and cleanliness, and, the care, nursing.
But how well are these things monitored by the authorities?
I know that
the certified schools, how well are they monitored? I know there'll be compromises, but
there will be. I mean, again, if you think about
factor.
one-to-one pairing of monitoring, it makes it tough, because what's the number of personnel that's going to monitor? But I feel like there are things that you can monitor with, you get to keep people accountable. The reason why we have technology today is precisely for those reasons. So if you build in a technology compliant monitoring system, then you'll be able to get schools to be accountable to share certain details that you use to evaluate them. So, of course, the Department of Quality Assurance has their whole school evaluation program that is conducted in most schools. How much they go into those schools, or every school, I don't have the details. But there is a program in the ministry, by the Ministry of Quality Assurance and the Department of Quality Assurance, that is supposed to do what is called a whole school evaluation, and they check all of these things to the best of their capacity.
Okay, let's fast track to secondary. Okay, because I think to a large extent, it's quite clear where the problem comes is secondary. My child must go to the school I went to, irrespective of what state it is in now, and this new craze about wanting to take your kids abroad. First, does it make sense in parenting to pick a child from here, put them on a plane 6 hours away, and let them start secondary school from GS1 or the first year? In principle,
no.
What do you gain?
What do you gain? That's a very tough question, but it's a good question.
Yes.
Because you think about, people have personal, what I would call personal goals. And for some people, their personal goals include, my child is going to school abroad, is going to have this community of status of some sort, and I want him to be able to get that kind of education, the quality of education that is being received in those countries. So they want that. And it's a matter of personal goals, not the child's
How
goals.
do you balance it with your upbringing?
So that's where I'm getting there. So now they take those decisions, and it's kind of like when you put your child in a boarding school, even in Nigeria. So you can put your child in a boarding school. It might not be too different. Because imagine that I went to FGGC Newbusa. It was a road trip to get to us on visiting day. So if my mom was going to come to visit us, she would spend nothing less than 6 hours on the road to get to us.
Wow.
So the same situation will be for a parent who has to travel to get
Same
on the
6
ticket.
hours.
The same 6 hours. If imagine if it was England.
But what about the cultural difference?
So yes, that's where it comes. That's where you now have to ask yourself as a parent: is that am I ready to deal with whatever it comes with that? Because when your child, again, you haven't said that the 6 hours thing. The fact that you're within the same country counts, because there are no limitations between getting your child, and then you can get some family support to get to your child. That is usually what parents would do, is when the child is going to school very far away, they find a family support, a support system that can easily get to your child should your child get ill, and requiring to do check on them. So, but is that the ideal situation to take your child out? Where you have to get on a ticket, you get a ticket, fly, and do all those things. It won't be the ideal. Believe me, this age group, this secondary school age group, is a tough period. I'm currently a parent of it in that group, and there is a lot of emotional adjustments that needs to happen for children within this age. You've got to be there. You've got to connect. The thing that's up with that with this group is the connection. This is when they form their character. So they form early, but then this is when they form at the. So children, what we say is that, give me a child. The JCs will say, give me a child before they turn 8, and I'll make him a priest, because the thinking is that once I start you very early in life, and I keep telling you about the precepts and the principles of this particular, lifestyle or structure or things, you will become that person. So formation is, of course, within that early childhood age group of birth to 8 years. Then when you get to secondary, then you move to another level of where your mindset begins to shift. And the power of the mind is what affects those children within the group. And what changes it is the connections that they make. So imagine most of us are more friendly or more connected to the people we met during our secondary school than our university days.
Yeah.
Think about it. And then there's a bond. Yeah. There's a bond. There's a reason why, because that's when you were forming your habits, what you thought of yourself. You were forming who you thought your personality is, or who you think your personality, what you think your personality is. And that's what happens. So you see some people, I hate to go back to Femi Fani-Kayode, but that outburst that he had, if imagine it was quite controlled at the time when he was in secondary school, he wouldn't. I don't imagine that he would get to that level. I know there are other things that would have characterized his behavior, some kind of power,
You think that the fact that he went to secondary school abroad could have also contributed?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Sometimes, like what we do, we try to tell secondary school owners or people who run secondary schools, like there's something called bullying, and it is a real thing. It is a real thing in secondary school. It is a big problem, and it conditions the minds of children.
I even think that I heard that. I think that when he was in school, if I remember what I heard, he was probably the only black child in his class or something like that.
There you go. This is somebody who is always on defense. He's always trying to defend something, because he's the only person in that classroom that is different. That requires a level of management.
Well, I mean, let's take him out of the equation. Look at Dilebe Onyema's nigga at Eton.
Right.
At Eton. And at the end of the day, there are really no guarantees.
There aren't.
What I also believe is that you do that at that level, you have a disconnect between the parent and the child.
That is what I'm talking about. Power of connection.
Yeah, power of connection is missing there. So you would say it's a no-no.
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
I won't. I personally,
no matter the money where you get.
It's not about money. A lot of things are not about money.
But there is money and there's money. If you have an oil well, how will we know?
Jimmy, there are people that have oil wells.
I know. I was just kidding.
The connection between yourself and your child is critical at this time, yes. Which is why it is called basic education. That's why it's not. That's why it's called basic education, because that's the period of your life where most of what you will be is channeled towards the rest of your future, the rest of your life. So when you that's why university, the most parts of the world, you pay for university. Yeah. You pay for it.
Yeah, you're treated as an adult.
Because look, you can choose to go or you can choose not to go.
Yeah.
It is not. Yes, university is to build expertise, but it's a choice. Because at this time, the assumption is that you're an adult, you're made, you can. A lot of people in those days started out their career paths from when they were 16.
Maybe I should ask you, let's just divert a little bit. How do you react to what we now have in the universities here, some kind of parents' PTA for universities? Does it make any sense to you?
That one is what we call helicopter parenting.
I think at that point you allow children to let them be adults. For the no, I didn't spend 3 years. I spent more than 3 years in uni.
I haven't heard that though. Where did you?
Oh, they have it. They have it. What they call it? They use a nice name for it. They call it Parents Forum.
At the university?
Yes, university. The Parents Forum, University of Lagos, said they had to visit Babalakin's father somewhere in Ogbomoso to convince Babalakin, who is in Lagos here, to do certain things. They have a parents forum at LASU. They have at I don't know if they have any at Unilag.
I should investigate more about their activities
because
it's rather interesting. I'm thinking about the involvement, the level of involvement of this parents forum.
It just doesn't make sense. I believe very strong. That's part of. You see, sometimes we overdo parenting.
I agree.
Some universities, for example, won't allow students to have a phone.
I disagree with that.
Yes,
I disagree with that.
The university is the last chance you have to make mistakes in life. You know.
You see, the reason, Jimmy, the reason why we say you should train up your child and build that connection and relationship with your child, which a lot of nearness helps to characterize. You see, there are parents at home that are distant from there. They are there.
Yes.
But they are not there with their children. They're still distant. The reason why we say it is because when a child transitions from childhood to adulthood, there's a level of confidence and confidence in themselves, confidence you as a parent, confidence in your child that that person is now capable of living an independent life. And building independence comes from a place of self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence in my abilities. And so when you don't do that, and you don't let that child run free, you will see, this is the reason why you see a lot of young people in universities making mistakes. You watch, if you
including some of them still wet in the bed. I need to take a break.
You didn't say that.
I did some of that bed wetting, but I think I heard one.
They do that when they get to university too early. I've seen people that are 15 years old in university. It's ridiculous.
All right, it's the Daily Digest. Jimi Disu brought to you by MTN Nigeria Info 99.3. We need to take a break. I need to pay some bills. And then when we come back, we'll start taking some of your calls and reactions. So don't go away.
Don't touch that dial. Daily Digest returns in a moment. Radio like you never knew.
What's up? How you doing? What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Agudobe from Semen Education.
What's up, Lagos?
My name is Michael calling from Ikorodu. I'm happy this morning I'm able to break you.
Yeah, this is Philly from the line.
What's up, Lagos?
Hi, calling from I'm good. Take it. Yeah.
Happy radio to make you happy.
What's up, Lagos?
Yes, please. You're my first caller. You've got to scream, man. You've got to give me that energy back.
Yeah, I'm not. They may arrest me because of you. I'm in office.
Oh, if you shout, they'll arrest you. Don't shout, don't shout. Say, what's up, Lagos?
It's What's Up Lagos!
Tune in to What's Up Lagos, weekdays 10 a.m. to 12 noon for a whole new radio experience on your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
You're listening to Jimi Disu, right here on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Yeah, you're welcome back to Daily Digest with Jimi Disu, and brought to you by MTN. I have some reactions here. Ife Markin says that some parents walk far away from where they build or live, so they have no choice but to live daily with the kids and drop them off in school on the way and so on and so forth. And he says, well, he's enjoying the program. Finishes Delight says that the GM you refer to is the GM of Lasema. He's a PhD holder, so that his name is Olufemi Okesonitolu, and he talks too much and is unguided. Yes, I think that's the gentleman's name. I don't know whether it's that he talks too much, but I think somebody needs to caution him, about public speaking, especially on site. That takes care of that. It says, General T says, how do we listen to you online? Because I've tried several avenues. I think I mentioned this. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. Okay, so and then of course there's an app. If you go to the Play Store, you can get the app and listen to us live and clear. Right. These are some other issues and KLM and stuff like that. So let's go.
The public speaking part. So
yes.
part of when we say academics, we don't just talk about core curricular, we also talk about extracurricular. You want to ask those kinds of questions, like what are the extracurricular activities that are required for my child? Because I personally, when we say someone is future ready or future compliant, it includes that you know how to speak to the public. So public speaking is one of those very essential future skills. Presentation as a whole has public speaking on there as one of it. So you want to ask those kinds of questions because this is what you want. It's not about the start. If the school, you can pay like millions of dollars or millions of naira, and then they don't have all of these core tenets of what a future
compliance. It's not just the academics.
It's not just academics in terms of the core academics of mathematics, English, science, STEM, and all of that. It's also the softer skills, of presentation, public speaking, being conscious of your environment, because that's something else. You talked about the Ikoyi and the felling of the trees. Look, there's sometimes it can never happen because everybody knows as you are trying to do it, the community will stop you.
Yes.
Because they understand the need for those trees. So these are some of the things that you want to start building your children.
We seem to have lost a lot of that, though.
Because the education system does not cater to building that consciousness.
You do find a lot of adults, that kind of thing is missing in their lives.
They don't understand
And these are the people who determine our day-to-day lives. Yes, policies.
And practices, yes.
Okay, Collins, we got a call there. Thank you very much. Morning. Hello?
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir. Who's
calling?
Who's calling?
This is Moses calling from Lekki.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I just want to contribute is this. I don't know if you've heard that a mother is pregnant and he has this particular song he always sing when he's pregnant. And when that child, when she gives birth to that child, when that child starts growing up, when the child wants to start to talk, is that song that mother was singing, that child will start singing. Do you know that?
I don't know.
Do you know? People train their children from that tummy. When you say train your child from infancy, you can train your child from your tummy. Why you know? These days, I don't think people understand the fact that God did not give them their children for their teacher or their house girl. He gave them their children for them to train. And any parent that does not train his child will be held responsible for it.
Okay.
Because many parents does not care. They think because they have that money, they can pay somebody to be teaching their children or put your children abroad, put them far from you. It's not supposed to happen.
Okay. I don't know. My mother is dead, so I can't ask her if she sang any songs to me. But the song I love singing when I was that was Fella's song. So I don't know. But what he said, is it true? You've had kids. I mean, do you have any connect with the child?
When I was pregnant with my son, he's my first. Yes. I remember walking into a room there was loud music, and immediately I opened the door. He checked the entire system. My stomach was tumbling up and down.
You think he was dancing in the womb?
He heard it. Believe
really?
Me, he heard it. Because the moment I opened the room, so I was going to at the time, I remember that I was going into, it was my brother-in-law's, yes. I opened my brother-in-law's door. and he was blasting loud music. And as I opened it, the music, was even affected me. And then the next thing I saw was my son tumbling up and down in my stomach. And I knew.
Was he dancing or was he uncomfortable? We never know.
Jimmy, why?
Let's send him back inside.
Send him back inside to tell us what he was doing. But definitely there are things that happen, with the parents and the child.
Well, some people actually do talk to the child and, I don't know.
Yes, that's that therapy that parents, even when women are pregnant.
But the bottom line is that you must maintain that connect with the child.
Yes, that's it.
So in today's times, if you do have the resources, would you rather your child be in boarding house, in boarding school, or a day student where you can, because these days monitoring has to be very, very close.
So I don't have a problem with boarding schools. I think
I
don't at all. But I especially in these days where boarding schools are fluid. So you can see kids coming back home during the weekends.
During the weekends, yes.
So there's that option. A lot of schools, that offer that option, give that option to parents. So and you can come and pick your child midway, mid-term, even before the midterm.
I think it makes sense because I must confess that when I didn't go to boarding school 1 to 5, but when I had a problem with my school start and had to do it again, Saturdays was for me to jump the wall and hit the town.
Yeah.
At 15, 16.
It's true.
That's what happened.
It happens. Yeah.
Go to shrine.
True.
That's what happened. I mean, I'll be very honest about it. So, wouldn't it have been better if I was sent home on Friday to come back maybe Sunday evening?
Exactly. It would have definitely been better.
I started very early.
Yeah, Jimmy, you started really early.
I started really
We cannot
early.
tell that story, Abby.
I can tell the story. I mean, if there's any lesson to be learned from it.
Exactly.
The good thing, though, is that there's nothing else for me to do. And so most of the time, I'm making very good use of my time.
Imagine that instead of going to the shrine and to that pub, that you went home and supported your father you and your dad did things together.
Let me quickly tell you off air. The shrine was very strict.
But imagine that you didn't have.
No, but I understand that. I understand that perfectly. But you see, because parents do worry about sending their kids to boarding. I'm worried about anybody who sends his child abroad until the very best I can tolerate would be A-level.
My bigger worry even then. So let's say you want to do it, but what did you build in as a support system for the child? Do you have a family member that is trusted? It can never be you.
What they usually do is to buy a house there. Empty house.
That is not the support system.
Yeah, but
that does not do anything
thinking.
as a for the connection. It definitely leaves a gap in your child. It definitely, and you know what is bad? Sometimes these young people don't know how to love, don't know how to connect because they were not given that. That's a challenge. And so we later say, you cannot get married. You can't marry.
I met a lady who got traumatized. Her parents were extremely rich, flying everywhere, extremely rich, but got traumatized. And when it was traced, she's a full-grown adult now, in her 40s. When it was traced, one of the things that hurt her through life was that the mother never plaited her hair.
Imagine that.
When it was like a bomb. When the matter came up, she says, my mother never plaited my hair. I never had that motherly connection of your mom plaiting your hair
Jimmy,
for the weekend.
You see daily hugs. Daily hugs. Nothing beats it.
I remember, for example, that when my kids were, as they were growing up, every time I saw them come back, I always loved to just run my hands on their heads.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. And later on, they told me that it used to excite them.
Exactly.
But their mom got jealous.
No, but it's fine. That's
she
good
said, I
jealousy.
never did it to her.
That's good. Okay, that's a separate conversation.
I'd always love running my head. I got a call. Okay, yes. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Uncle Jimmy.
Morning, sir.
My name is Tunji Ojubanire. I'm calling you from Ikorodu.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I can comment on some of the things you have said.
Well, you have a minute, sir.
Okay, now, I want to correct your impression. Permit me to say that on your views about things groups are doing in the Southwest regarding the way they are talking about secession.
No, that's not. Sorry, sir. You have to stick to what we are talking about. I'm sorry. We're talking about parenting here, not about secession. Nobody's planning any secession here. Okay, can I have another caller, please? Please, when you do call in, let's try and stick to what is being discussed and don't divert our attention. Hello, morning. Morning. Hello? Hello?
Hello, Uncle Jimmy.
Morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Morning.
Yeah, this is Oliver. I'm calling from Okoto in Ikorodu.
Morning, Mr. Oliver. How are you?
Fine. My own contribution concerning your guest, you asked her a question. Like me, I went through Kwara State College of Education.
Yes.
I graduated 2016. I relocated to Lagos 2017.
Yeah.
My own little experience from my own observation, I cannot allow my child to live in boarding school.
Okay.
Everything is individual differences. Uncle
Yes.
Jimmy, they learn a lot of things from that boarding school, from their fellow students. And that space is much. Even when I relocated to Lagos, I'm also working here in Ikorodu in a private school. We parents, we have a lot of advantage when we are close to them because these our children in this part of the world, they like talking to them, seeing them every time, advising them. The moment they are seeing you advising them, there are some things. It's not that they will not be getting those things in the school, but they will caution themselves. That's just my own contribution. But they need our closeness. They learn a lot from their fellows. They have in so many ways that we don't know. It's true, the facilities of big enough, but do we also think of the disadvantage of it? In conclusion, not to take your time.
Okay.
It's very, very good for them to be going from house.
Thank you, sir.
I agree with
I think
him.
there's a bit
I don't
of this,
disagree with him.
But life must be brought into
Perspective,
balance,
yes.
At what point do you then expose your child to the realities of life?
Exactly.
I think that is probably the most important thing. If you put them in a nice, I've been to a few schools and I've seen beyond the structures. I've seen the kind of discipline that you have.
And I'll share. My children are not in boarding schools. Like my son is 15. He's not in a boarding school. And I knew
is that by choice or by design?
Another thing that you need to do as a parent in making a choice of a child is to understand the difference or the uniqueness of your child. My son is not the type I will put in a boarding. Not all of your children should go through the same system.
Same thing.
My son is not the type. After him, I have twin girls. Those two girls, I can tell you that they can go into a boarding school because their personalities are different. But at the same time, it's not just that their personalities are different, they have each other.
Oh, they're twins.
They're twins. So it is different. So you have to always think about how different it is for your child and the uniqueness of that child. My son was never going to thrive in a boarding school, and I know it.
And then you have to also think of, okay, so if you don't put your child in a boarding school as a day student, but because of your schedule, you're never there. It's even worse.
It's even worse. So again, that's the right balance
You
we're
work in a
talking
bank,
about.
you don't get home till 9, 10.
Because of my children, I made conditional decisions to do certain things. That's also where the parents come in. You got to decide, what would I do in these 16 years to make sure that this human being that God has given me as a gift to bless the world with good nature, with love, with care, with empathy. You've talked about things like that, with mind, just the present mindedness. Let me put it that way. You've got to be able to tell yourself, how am I going to structure my life to be able to ensure that these human beings that have been given to me are good quality people for themselves and for their society. And then you can now relax as an adult. There are a lot of old parents in their 60s and 70s that cannot sleep because of their children.
Yeah.
And that's because the level of absenteeism, parental absenteeism is so high. And now they regret it. They will ask themselves, you know what? There was a survey that was carried out in the UK of 60-year-old men. This survey was carried out about 8 years ago. A majority of them were asked this question: what would you do differently if you were going to go taking back 30 years, and forward within that range? You almost 90% of them said they would go back and spend more time with their family. If that doesn't say anything, it says that don't worry, you may be 40, you may be 45, 50, you may be 35. You think you're doing things right. Be careful. You may just think about it when you become 60.
You may have a time bomb coming.
Be very careful. Look at your child and work with your child.
Okay, I'll take just one more caller. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes. Who's
Matthew
calling?
from
Sorry.
Matthew.
Yeah, please go on, sir.
As far as the issue is concerned, boarding house, as I'm talking to you, if not in boarding house, I'm going to have no what to do. Do it a missionary school. Because the fellows say that you will never put a child in the boarding house. It is.
Well, that is not clear. Okay. Thank you very much. That's all we can take, Rhoda. But I'd like you to stick on because I do my listeners a favor every Friday, my Muslim brothers and sisters. And so I have one or two things for them that, you will not be interested. But I just like you to hear them. No, you won't be interested in these ones. I know. This one that I'm talking about, you won't be interested in. Well, I've been speaking to Rhoda Odigbo. She's an educational consultant. The thing with Rhoda is that the discussion never ends. We're picking up from the last time we spoke. Yeah. If we had another 1 hour, we'd never, finish talking about the subject. What I think is most important is remember that parenting, not you, Rhoda, our listeners, that parenting is a sacrifice. And you put your child first. And before you take decisions on your children, if you can't analyze the situation yourself, it's better you put a call to the likes of Rhoda and so on and so forth. Let them put you through. Because one wrong slip at the beginning could lead to a lifetime of disaster.
Agreed.
I've seen it happen over and over again.
They say it's easier to raise good children than fix broken men.
One of these days, we'll talk about broken homes and how to raise children and put them in school from a broken home, single parenting. Next time you're here, that's what we'll be talking about. Okay. Well, don't go yet, Rhoda. I'd like to see you off. Very quickly, I have just less than 5 minutes. My Muslim brothers and sisters, as usual, I love reading Harun Balogun's page in the Vanguard. He talks about the quintessential Muslima, Sadatu Baba Muhammad, I think is an interview, okay, and it talks about unsettled or depressed. And let me read this quotation I found here. It says, unsettled or depressed, then pray for just 1 minute. You will soon feel triples of peace. Pray a little harder and perpetual bliss of joyous moments surround every life. And when our mind is peaceful, the whole world is too. Prayers tie us to Allah, but we expand human joy by doing good all the time. There would be no happy universe if we cease to do good. Okay, now to this one that I'm sure some people are waiting for, the Muslim dating thingy. A 59-year-old Muslim civil servant from Kogi State with kids wants a God-fearing Muslim woman as second wife. Another one, a female Muslim, 27, wants a second wife. Why not? Genotype AA from North Central wants a young man between the age of 35 to 45 as husband. The Muslim male, 40 AA genotype. Also, these ones can match each other, 27 and 40. A civil servant divorced with one kid based in Kaduna wants a God-fearing Muslim. Who decides if you are God-fearing? Can you decide you are God-fearing or other people? And then there's another one that says a young female Muslim from Kogi State based in Kano working as a teacher, graduate of English, wants caring and God-fearing Muslim male from the Southwest. If you want any contact on that, go read the Vanguard. I just ran a commercial for Vanguard newspapers here. I'll send them a bill. But my bias towards Vanguard. Tomorrow is the discourse at 8 o'clock in the morning. And one day I was lounging in my house. I got a call from Moody, the designer. Moody. And he said to me, Mr. Jimmy, that's how he calls Mr. Jimmy. All these young people, they always talk about themselves being entrepreneur. Do they know what it takes to be an entrepreneur? I said, Moody, no, say me, I'll not be one. He said, I would like to tell them, let them know what I'd gone through. He forgot that he had told me that story. There is no way you will hear Moody's story and not reach for a handkerchief. He started from the very base level. He started from the basis of levels he started. And with perseverance, with focus, okay, he was very, till today, he's very focused. He's my sweet aburo.
Jimmy,
he's very
in a way,
focused.
I revere that man. I
Yes.
think when you go past his building, never looking anything but perfect.
Perfect.
The quality in his expertise.
He is what you almost call a self-creation. And that is why I didn't hesitate. As soon as he started talking to me, I said, Mudi, not talk.
Come over. I'm listening.
So tomorrow he's going to be here by 8 o'clock. I'll put on the mic and take a walk. Because, it's quite an emotional story. But Mudi, he was so focused and he went right through it to the top. We want to use this as an example to the young people. I hear a lot of young people say, I'm an entrepreneur, but you're not doing anything. You understand? But just think that even if you are doing Yahoo,
I imagine. One day I went to, I was at Joshua Market and I saw him driving in the old 504. He had done it in such a way that it looked so classic. That lemon one.
But Mudi loves vintage cars. I told him he must come tomorrow with his Merc.
One of it.
No, he has the Merc is, I think, a 1956 Mercedes.
Jimmy, we want to see the pictures.
Yes, I'll take the pictures for you. You know what we'll do? One of these days when you're less busy, we'll drive to his office in Anthony. It's beautiful.
I go past. My sister lives in Anthony Village. I go past it all the time.
The thing that will freak you out is he has a green Grand. It's in his shop. I saw a green Grands usually come in like brown, dark brown, and whatever, and white. But he has a lemon. It's not even green. I don't know why. This color is
his generator
green.
is always the same color with his building. Moody is not your average.
No, he's not your average. But if you hear how he started,
I'd listen.
I
will listen.
Rhoda, you mustn't miss the discourse.
I will not miss it.
Tell all your friends.
I will.
All young people. So that's why we knock up to the road. Thank you very much.
It
was quite nice having you.
My pleasure.
Collins, thanks a million. You won't be here tomorrow, but it would be nice to listen to both these stories. Let your son listen. It's only 2. But like somebody said, when you talk to children in the belly, maybe if you talk to them that too. It's 6 months.
Yeah, but start reading to him. Okay?
Yes, and it's nice. It's nice to see Philip. He's come out of the pillar now. He's always hiding behind this pillar you're looking at. I need to take a photograph of this pillar for people to see. Yeah, tomorrow 8 o'clock, God willing, I'll be with you. The discourse with Jimi Disu. Up next is Colin, so don't go away.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Entertaining and informing Nigeria 24/7.
Nigeria Center for Disease Control on Thursday reported 790 new cases.
We're going to talk about the new independent political movement that launched yesterday and says it wants to reform the constitution.
Tune in every weekday and weekends for the best radio programming.
But then again, he found something condemnable. I'm talking about how they've been observing the social distancing.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.